So, following on from one of the earlier videos, discussions that I did and edited together, I edited together about 13 or 14 different discussions that I'd done into one long video, discussing all the John William Ramsden history around the Victoria Tower, Jubilee Tower, and then going on to events that were happening around that time around the country and other archaeological finds and other facts and circumstances that I believe could be politically connected to the hill fort and its history and symbology and meaning. Now here you see, so the other mound, the other hill that has now had houses built on it, which people are saying it actually had a proper name on old maps of something to do with a burial mound or something, right? I think it was another hill fort. And then we've got the prehistoric Britain map evidence of it having water around it, so you could have just got off it and jumped onto the river and sailed all the way to Hull. So actually the route where you go to where the river is now from that hill fort is you can't really go walk on there, you can't look at it, you can't investigate it, you can't do any archaeology there, because they've put a massive chemical factory there, which was the ICI, also known as Syngenta, Zenica, previously Zenica and previously ICI. Now, my granddad actually used to even work at the ICI, so he used to go park outside there quite a bit when we used to go see him or get him. Now, I never knew any other term for the ICI. I always knew it as ICI, chemical factory, and you always think of, eyes, because it says ICI. So it's like, the I, see, and I see, and I. So the symbolic meaning of chemicals and chemistry, I think it's quite significant to, if you did associate Huddersfield with, back in prehistory, to do with supplying chemicals that may or may not have been religious sacrament and particular libbey caps and things like that. I mean, the name suggests the name is suggestive ICI. I mean, for them to even call it that, they're conjuring up that image anyway. But the thing is, until I've just read this newspaper story, I never knew the proper full name of the ICI because everyone just referred to it as ICI. Now, I could probably do with going on to the map now, to the aerial map. So the view from Dalton Bank, you can actually, that view I went to a couple of weeks ago, and you can actually see Castle Hill, and you can see that Warrior Mound, and you can see Leeds Road. There aren't many views where you can see Leeds Road and Waterloo, that mound, because it's completely separate parts of the area, but you never really think about and connect in your mind. There is a road going between them, but it's kind of like a back road, and it's more like a sort of a bit of a very narrow shortcut road that's quite windy. And still then, it doesn't give you a good geographical layout of it. Now, if there was anything, if people wanted to look into this sea route and look into this river route and then, go around with a metal detector or just fish around it, and actually be there, like the mouth of the Avon. They've actually disproved that they floated at Stonehenge on the Avon now, but when you used to go to the Avon, it is quite a magical place, and the mouth of the river, you could imagine people going on there in ancient boats and ships. And the fact that the ICI have made this weird, not underground but overground tube system on there, pipe system, it's kind of symbolic of things being shipped or travelled up and down there. It's disappointing actually, because that actually now putting the whole picture of Huddersfield into the whole thing, the Pennine Ridge with the lakes, bigger lakes in the Lake District, in that ridge, possibly with cairns on there. Then you've got Dun Elm, which is levelled at the top, possibly could have been occupied. And then you got Castle Hill higher up in a majestic position, and then half the distance between Dun Elm and Castle Hill. Then you've got this other mound, which is 3.5 kilometres away, same distance between Cis Brewing and Shankton Brewing, which is significant for hill forts. And then you can hop off it and get on the river to Hull. Now that setup is like, wow. I mean, Many Castle is a big wow. Wow, that is huge. I mean, no army could vandalise Maiden Castle, and if they tried to, they try and stop them. Although they managed to let them have tanks running up and down Sisbury Ring Hill Fort, back and forward like there's no tomorrow, tearing it up when they were doing army training, which actually I think ties into this as well. But so that exact junction on the corner of Dalton Bank. And Dalton Bank, you can see all of the sites from there. You can see Dunelm, you can see Castle Hill, and you can see that mound, right? So that corner there, right where they put the ICI, is actually, on a national level of archaeological interest, it is like a hotspot. You couldn't get a more hot spot. It's like the junction of all junctions. It is the major junction of all junctions where you could have a junction of any interest to anyone who would be wanting to look for anything. So to concrete it and put a chemical factory there just to symbolise ICI, funny, right? But to ruin it in the process and not, like Oswestry Stream, Maiden Castle, all these other sites, actually protect them, to concrete over it, Joni Mitchell, the Pay Paradise, and put up a parking lot, is... I'm not too sure what they're doing, whether they're joking, whether they're messing us around. They're trying to... It's almost like they're trying to acclaim you and congratulate you. Well done, Huddersfield, for being so important now. And then it's like, bang, like knocking you straight out with a big punch. It's like, well done, Huddersfield, and then slap you around the face. Wow, that's a brilliant, significant location, site, and history you've got there. And then just like headbutting you or something, bang, and then okay, then have a couple of halfpenny pieces and a couple of shillings, throwing out some money in public, have a nice royal teapot and a royal teacup. It's almost like saying somebody's got a nice, oh, that's a nice doormat there, and then taking a poop on it. Or, like going into your garden and saying, oh, that's a nice garden there, really, really good, and then ripping all your flowers out. It's almost like that. And then you've got this, oh, yeah, we're building a big mast, a massive, mast, after they've, vandalised the site. I'm not quite sure what's going on with it in Huddersfield, but it's something extremely, like literally like on the Lost Boys, when you got the Fraud Brothers, when you go in and they go in there and they're like, notice anything unusual about Santa Carla? It sounds like I noticed anything unusual about Huddersfield. Oh yeah, well they're trying to kind of, in a way, they're trying to make out it's good by putting up about Kingsgate Centre and the brand new Command Centre University on a big mast there, and all these dominating police authoritative Prince Andrew type, something here, but we've completely built around rubbish, built on and decimated the actual thing there. That is a thing that made it significant in the first place has been completely written off and vandalised. It's almost it's a complete contradiction and insult. It's almost like, it's almost like I can remember when I was at school and I got these really amazing marbles from Scarborough or somewhere like that, or I think it was Whitby actually. It was Whitby. There was a shop right up near where the cliffs are, top side of Whitby. And I went and I got these really amazing marbles. I got quite a lot of different ones, different colours. And then I went into school and then I can remember... a lad called Stephen Brooke, and he wanted to play marbles with me, and then he ended up cheating us and fleecing them off me. He said, just like as we were playing the game, he was just making the rules up as he went along, and he ended up fleecing them off us. It's kind of like that. I kind of feel like Huddersfield's had its sites fleeced off it, and then they put some other sites there to say, oh no, they're not. These are the good sites. Oh, don't worry about those old ones. Well, they were good back in the day, but now we can put these new sites on. These new conquering urban monstrosities, now you've got a command centre. Forget the old command centre, that's history, that's long gone. Forget that, get it built on and blocked off, Now look at this new command centre we've got and we've placed here. Our new command centre that we're placing in your Huddersfield. It's like that, isn't it? Why haven't they done that to Maiden Castle? Because they haven't let them anywhere near it. Or maybe they thought Maiden Castle wasn't as important. It's big. But, or maybe that it was a bit too obvious to go and rubbish that site. I don't know. But anyway, so when was that ICI place established and built? Well, the Huddersfield Examiner tells us here. And the Huddersfield Examiner actually, supposedly, so we're told, were actually opposed to that Jubilee Tower being put on Castle Hill. But now it's a very different story because Huddersfield Examiner are highly affiliated with a football team. We're into all the modern champagne drinking, jacuzzi, cafe, sex parties up on the hill instead. Probably with Patrick Stewart there and Bill Barry Shearman. Probably going to be Prince Aru. It'll be Prince Andrew, Barry Shearman, and Patrick Stewart. In a jacuzzi with the Sandy brothers in the cafe eating whatever, the shrimp or something, making a lot of noise, and the neighbours will be complaining down the hill that there's too much noise coming from the hill. When they put a barrier on there to try and stop kids going up there and having innocent parking up there and just enjoying the view and having a spliff and watching the stars, not harming anyone. But yet Patrick Stewart, Barry Shearman, the Tandys, and Prince Andrew can go up there and have wild sex parties, in a private secret cafe with limited opening hours. It's just ridiculous. It really is. It really is ridiculous. But anyway, so that's just my opinion. As Russell Brand says, he can, Russell Brand says more controversial stuff than that. If you go to his channel, but that's just my opinion. You tell us what you think in the comments. Obviously not that many people are signing, but I've put the other petition if they want to sign to get the pub back. A lot of people, to be honest, a lot of people in Huddersfield want that original pub back on there. And to be honest, I've said in the other video, I don't blame them, and I've even given them the link to that petition that's got quite a few signatures asking for it. So they can stop grumbling and sign that if they want the pub back. Sign that other petition. If they get 15,000, we'll get to vote on it anyway. So anyway, right. So yeah, I want to find out about this. The ICI getting established. The Huddersfield site is still a globally important manufacturing facility. And here are the photos, and there's King George. Now, I kind of didn't really have much of an issue with King George, particularly because I've been studying a lot of legislation and stuff like that. And when you look back to the era when King George coins were being issued and legislation was being knocked out of Parliament, official acts of Parliament, which are relevant now, they were more honest back then, or they had less reasons to be dishonest. Now, when you're going to beat the Tories, they have to change all these laws and rules and omit things because now you know too much. And now we've got computers, we can do too good. So as we get better and more capacity, the Tories have to cheat more and get rid of rights and change rules. That's essentially the Tories. Back then, only people could get access to books or law and things like that, new things, and less of the public were educated, and there was only like radio and obviously early television and things like that. Further back we go. So they want the internet, so people didn't know as much. So when you look at these old the road traffic acts and things like that, they all mention your rights, when you're driving cars and things like that, this is a road traffic regulation act and special provisions of legislation and rights do apply. It tells you, it makes reference to it. Now, they don't want you to know about that or don't want you to use them, so they kind of forget to mention it, Not that it's not the law, it doesn't say you can't use them, but they don't throw it in there as a reminder that those rights and acts exist, because they don't really want you to use them when you can't really get rid of certain rights. So a lot of the legislation in King George's time, I like it. It's good because it was more honest. But then they had less reasons to be dishonest. Now they've got a lot more reasons to be dishonest and a lot more reasons to try and completely rule and dominate us. So this year marks 100 since the start of the company, which was to become Syngenta after Zenica. Over the last century, the products manufactured at the sprawling site on Leeds Road have been incredibly varied, ranging from dyes to chemicals to products that protect crops. the crops that they've been making that Dr. Ekberg and Dr. Eric Berg have said that are destroying his metabolism, likely, and excessive eating and sugars to what the normal diet should be. They ain't growing nettles or spinach. And even textiles such as nylon. This week's nostalgia, packed with old photos, gives you an insight into Syngenta's past. Formerly known as ICI, it has also been one of Huddersfield's biggest employers at its height. there were 4,000 people working there. Well, that's not that many because there's more people in Huddersfield than in our group than that. I think there's about 19,000. And over the years has employed countless thousands of local people. Well, there's King George signing in the visitor's book. You see, he's wearing military. Do kings always wear military when they go about their business? Prince Andrew doesn't always wear his military uniform unless it's a parade. And Prince Charles definitely doesn't always wear his military uniform. If Prince Charles is going to the National Trust, or if he's going to look around the factory, well, he doesn't wear his military uniform. I think Prince Charles wears a suit and a shirt and tie and a jacket. He might be more of a hunting, even his country-style clothes. If Camilla and Charles go, like David Cameron went to Melvin Mills, he's wearing a Prime Minister suit. I know Boris wears some wacky stuff like, Union Jack boxer shorts jumping out of a parachute with a fish as if he's some sort of spitting image character. But when you just go into a factory to sign in, surely, you have to dress like a general. Couldn't you just want a suit? But he's all in military. It's all military, Maybe it was a little bit more back then, but... Or there was a war. If there was a war on, fair enough. If there was a war on, but it's only 1918 the war hasn't started, is it? Or was it the first? Actually, it might have been the First World War because it's only about making chemicals for netting and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't want to ramble too much, but that's me. So, King George signing the visitor's book on a visit ICI in Huddersfield in 1918. Right, so. It's 18 years after the Jubilee Tower has been built on the hill fort, right? So 18 years prior to that, it was John William Ramsden who had it, and they didn't have that tower on there. And there was no more mast, and there was no. So they were only just building this ICI, it's brand new, and we don't have that many houses built around that Warrior Mound place. Now this is the time, 1918. So what's happening around this time? Also, this is to do with the very start of the IRA, the IRA, Irish Republican Army, isn't it? Now ICI, IRA, 3 letters, both beginning with an I. Both kind of symbolise, there's something in that. So we've got the Jubilee Tower. So I think they're wanting to go a step further, to be honest. And I think putting the ICI, I think this is my opinion, right? And it's just a sketchy handheld video with a phone camera that won't load into YouTube on a petition. But I'm entitled to my opinion, and it's not a very quaint and well-spoken, highly vocabularied, nice professor like Mike. Parker Pearson, who is a well-spoken man, and he's a very nice gentleman, and he's very honest in his opinions about other people, and he quotes their work and stuff like that. Although I have kind of criticised his diet and things like that. But, it's just me giving my opinion, not dissimilar from Russell Brand just giving his opinion. So, I think that they'd mounted the hill fort. I think they mounted it. And following the baton being put on the tower at Abraham Heights, and I think that was the objective, and they're creating the first sea captain position gets created, and it's like being on a big boat up at Castle Hill, and there used to be lakes up behind in the Pennines as well, remember? There's actually bigger lakes in the Lake District, in fact, if that prehistoric map's accurate. I think they wanted to build up to that other fort, and I think everyone knew it was there at the time, and then it's kind of fallen out of memory, and then they ended up finally. You see, then another war broke out when Valor started excavating Castle Hill, and then after he broke off for that war, and then and then what happens is then they plonk houses on it in the 1970s, and it's all built around it. It's gone, it's done, job's done, mission completed. So, that's what I think. I think there is evidence for that, if I'm allowed to say it. Just stating the facts, strategic facts. If I was a conquering military force in this country, and I want to stamp my authority over this country, and also try and win the love of the people. Give them out some money, give them out some plates, and that, and get them to love me more than the opposite, the previous culture. Because that's the thing. What happens when the IRA kick off is that people kind of don't like Northern Ireland, or are scared of Northern Ireland, or are apprehensive about Northern Ireland. It's hardly, but then you get Mountbatten reckons is into Irish heritage and culture and writing books about it and stuff like that, and then apparently that's where he ends up going missing over there, or on a fishing boat. But all those IRA soldiers, where did they come from? They came from when they had the first soldiers in the First Army, because they'd all been trained up. That's how they were created. They were created from the army in the first place, and then they end up forming the IRA. So it's like they're a product of military force, Now, I don't want to fall out with Northern Ireland, because Northern Ireland, they claim the IRA are legitimate, and they're the legitimate cause to oppose the imperial forces coming into Northern Ireland, and I don't want to argue about the Troubles, because I know nothing about the Troubles, because I wasn't there. But I have got Irish ancestry, and in my opinion, if you were cleverer than a clever IRA soldier, and probably cleverer than Sinn Féin and Gerry Adams, if you wanted to make Gerry Adams look like he wasn't clever, then you might think that, well, a good way to, in England, if you wanted to impose your power and get everyone to love you more than the ancient heritage and culture that you've just taken over, and kind of prefer that over the other sites, then you want to make the Celtic Irish culture look bad, which is you can kick off with terrorism, and then people we'll have to fight these terrorists. The terrorists, that makes them look bad. So there could have been a strategy behind it, but then again, you could just say that with Hitler and the whole war. You could have said that the elite said, all right, scrap all the poor people, we'll just have a war, and we could do with rebuilding Plymouth and build some more factories and this and that. But that gets into all this issues that Jeremy Corbyn has had. Jeremy Corbyn's had a lot of issues with this anti-Semitism and all this Jewish stuff, which I don't really know about. But then you've got to question the gas chambers and all this and that. And this is what's going on now with Russia. You've got George, if you go on the Workers' Union Party, he's funded by the Russian government, and their position, the Workers' Union Party, is that, Russia would be stupid if it didn't attack Ukraine, because the other world powers are wanting to try and, get Ukraine on their side, so they've got to increase their advantage against Russia should it come to it. But, and then the people are actually getting blown up now in the actual wars. But is it really just the elite who are, always going to be safe, and the powerful who always benefit from wars, and it's a little just basically the inconvenience to them, go along with the charade and just, we have to put COVID masks on like everyone else, all right? Okay, then elite, you're going to have to wear these COVID masks, because we're doing this horrible, pandemic thing, and you're going to have to go along with it now while we get them back in order, stamp the authority. This is the thing, governments, have always got negotiating powers and always got the ability to do deals, so there shouldn't really be any wars, and I'm skeptical, that's all, because I can't prove anything. I'm not saying this and I'm not saying that. I'm just, I contemplate, are they just stirring it up so they can, make the, all these people who are rebelling and doing protests, trying to scare them or intimidate them, or, you want to see some war, do you? We'll show you a bit of war, fire a few missiles, Putin, there is that possibility. You've got to explore the possibility of other governments just not doing, like a wink and a nod, and okay, and, they might not have had a meeting about it, but they might, get the drift, and then it's okay, we're going to do this and that, and then, then Boris has to do his, because the thing is, now they're complaining that the Russians have voted to, they reckon the Russian people have voted not to allow protests in Russia, right? But the Russians, are the least legitimate people to trust in the Olympics, because they always cheat in the Olympics. If they're always cheating in the Olympics, isn't that evidence that they might likely cheat in their own voting system as well? So that people might not actually have voted to end the protest rights in Russia. That's the thing, you know. So you don't know. And then, you know, the thing is, Boris and Priti Patel, they don't want us to have rights anyway. They're saying that, oh, well, Russia has voted to get rid of, you know, rights, you know, and all this, protest rights. But that's what Priti Patel, and that's the way the Tories are going. What would Boris Johnson be doing on TV, you know, pretending to, oh, no, look what Russia are doing, you don't want us to be like that, when that's what he's doing? He's wanting to take away your right to object to building houses, take away your right to, you know, protest and certain political rights. You can't even vote unless you've got a passport or a driving licence, subscribe to Tory businesses and companies and optional departmental services, not main government services you automatically get for paying your tax and national insurance anyway, automatically, you know. It's almost, you know, it's not what I say, you know, don't watch what I say, watch what I do. So what are the Tories doing? Pretty much trying to do to us like what Russia are doing, you know, taking away rights. You know, but they're trying to make it look like, you know, there's the Russian people who don't want the rights, whereas the Conservatives are just taking them. They're not even asking us, they're trying to take them, you know. So, you know, I'm not too... I don't trust the Russian government in that sense, but generally, the Russians, to me, are a less greedy country and a less... they're less, you know, the movie world and the food and all luxury goods, they've been a lot more conservative, or not conservative in the sense of Tory, they've been a lot more less elaborate with those. I'm not saying they're about rich people and these billionaires in Russia, but generally, as a country, they live a lot more modest lives. They've got a lot more modest lives and livelihood. It's less tainted with greed, you know. So there are, I'm not saying America's not a good country. I'm not saying there are lots of hippies and people who are interested in rights in America, and, you know, there are a lot of good educational things, and some of the movies are good, but a lot of it is bad. A lot of it is bad, you know, and I don't think Russia is as bad. So, you know, I'm dubious about this vote that Russia's had against taking the rights away, but then again, I've gone on a massive tangent, but, you know, it's relevant because this petition is running in 2022, in March, and this is what's happening in March 2022, so I think it kind of, you know, it just kind of ties in with the whole military thing of the current present situation in terms of the military issue with what happened in the past. So in 1916, the work began on Dalton Meadows. So there was a place called Dives House that had some history as well, and a family in it. It was a farmhouse with a barn, and then it was connected to the Tulsa Museum or one of the Huddersfield museums, and then it kept getting either falling to bits or burned down, and then they ended up building normal housing around there. I'm not too sure what connection that had to that big hill fort, but it's a very long time since it flowed with water on there. There is a small stream, but obviously we've got water irrigation nowadays. They didn't used to have. Water irrigation was patented. I've read it. I'm glad that I know that actually. Land irrigation and water irrigation was a patented thing that somebody did for a business, and then they introduced it to England, and they cleared a lot of the water from the lands around England, particularly mainly in Norfolk and Lincolnshire type areas, you know, but all over as well. And it was quite early on. It was, you know, it was in the I can't remember the exact date, but, you know, it was. I think it was before the 1800s. It was somewhere between the 16 and 1800s, because I was quite surprised that they were even doing patents back then that early. It was an early date. It likely was somewhere between the 16 and 1800s, because when I read it, I might have even read it when I was reading that Civil War book, to be honest, because he was throwing a lot of information into there. Now, 100 years later, they were producing dyes used all over the world. Now, 100 years later, Huddersfield site is still a globally important manufacturing facility producing premium brand crop protection products, which are used in 120 countries around the world to help farmers protect crops. But they could have built it up the road away from that site, and, you know. And why build it next to a river? The thing is, you're not supposed to pollute rivers. So were they pumping loads of chemicals into the river before they introduced all the laws, so you couldn't do? Were they pumping loads of chemicals in there? So, you know, they might pump the fair share of chemicals in there before all the new environmental laws come in. You know, they could have built it somewhere else. Protect from pests, increase harvest of really rubbish corn and grains that are destroying his metabolism, and breads that have actually been poisonous and probably contribute towards poisonous from the ICI. You know, oh, instead of, you know, now we'll poison them all, poison them all. I think that's it now. Is that all it actually says in that? There's not actually that much writing. That were it. You want to view gallery? Sometimes I do think, you know, did I need to go through all that when I made the video? Don't think that I just, you know, but I can't help it because I'm just being myself when I'm doing videos. So I can't, you know, I can't just sit there and like have this written thing down there. I will, you know, I'll read it off a bit of paper. It's not how I work. It's like, you know, I know what I've got to say, but then it ends up, it's connected and relevant to what is it not connected and relevant to? That's the thing, you know. It's just. Don't know what that video is. We don't get to see the. That's just a completely different video that's not related to it at all. It's not going to show us the gallery. I think that was it. There's just those two photos. Oh, here we go. There's a girl at the ICI with her overalls on. Oh, we're actually in the photo gallery now. Wow. It's a bit like the King's Speech, isn't it? That looks like the mayor because he's got the mayor thing on. Don't know if George is sat there. I can't see him. He's sat at the front of that crowd there. He had the military hat. I can't see him with a military hat on. Who are these shady characters? That guy. He looks like a shady character, that guy. Waiting for refreshments. See, look at them. They're watching the ring game. Mr. CB Jones and Mr. Sorry, and its camera's a bit sketchy. It's not 42, is it? I wish I could make videos like 42 channel, but he's got his own little perfect setup, and it's all set up, and then he can make them really easy once he's got that set up. Then he just walks in front of the camera, and it's all mint and perfect, and he does all his editing. I could do videos like 42, but I just at the moment, you know, I used to make really good videos and make the effort, but to be honest, right, I've been through quite a lot recently with other stuff, and I just can't be bothered, you know, and I just want to get the information said and get it uploaded. You know, I'm not that bothered about it being, you know, really. You know, it could be, you know, but then again, Bernard McGuinn's petition is not exactly the best. You know, he's not exactly him in the council all sat up at Castle Hill on a photograph, you know, posing for photos like on that is it. It's Bernard with an Huddersfield Town shirt on and a scarf. You know, knelt sketchily in front of Victoria Tower, in the wind. So you know, this is, you know. So you know, Bernard is hardly, you know, it's hardly an ICI official presentation, is it? Mr. G&B Jones and Mr. and Mrs. Davis watching the ring game, whatever that is. Never used to know that. Has everyone ever played this ring game before? Not one of those fairground games. All right, so, like, you got to slide the ring down on a bit of string and get it over the thing. Looks like some sort of rigged fairground game to me. These are all ICI because they used to have their own sporting events. I think they used to have a lot of things because they used to get a good pension from there. Children's Gala Day at ICI in Huddersfield. That you see, you can see behind there. You can see that all the fields of Dalton. So they had actually a nice. They got some nice places. They had nice places on there before it got modernised. You see, they didn't have all the super futuristic pipes like, you know, the Terminator movie at that point. What's late? The ones in area. They're going underground there. You see, it wasn't an excuse to do some excavation and dig up, because, you know, if that was all water and river at one point, but then now they've concrete it all, so it's kind of a bit upsetting and disappointing to know what the actual land was like there, because um, you know, it's like that at Bath, near Bristol, at Avon. The Roman baths. It would have been nice to see what those hot springs were like in Bath, in the natural environment, before they built all the Roman temple and the city of Bath around it. What did those springs look like? Well, you can see what they likely would have looked like now if you watch some of the Iceland videos. Like, you can go and watch um, Just Icelandic. You can watch his videos, or Guten Tog, and they actually take the drone and go to these Icelandic nature reserves and places, because there's not that many buildings in Iceland. It's actually it's a place where there's brand new buildings being built. Actually, it's a place like for prospecting for people actually to go and move and live there. It's amazing nature. They've got really warm hot springs, waterfalls, mega natural spectacles. Really, they've got the Earth crust where the plates separate, real weird rock features like that. Got some crazy stuff. So those hot springs in Iceland, where the water naturally comes out hot and warm, and they've kind of got just what it's like in the sort of marshes or streams or meadows where that happens. There's some good videos on there, and that's kind of like something like that. What it would have been like in Bath, because it's in a bit of a valley as well. Before they built the whole town and the Roman baths, that's that. You see, it's like that. It's a bit of a shame, really, because it would have been cool to have seen those natural warm hot springs, because that's like the main natural hot spring in Britain. It's a shame that Roman baths built over it, really, because it would have been like Iceland, one of the Iceland places. Probably been a bit skanky if everybody would have been jumping in there. You see, that one in Iceland's quite clean because there's not that many people go there. It's not that busy, not all the year. Products ready to be shipped around the world from ICI. Prague. Toxic Crusaders. And then we've got King George again, signing the visitor's book in 1918. It had just been built. So it came after the tower then, really. Almost, it was like, getting a tower on there was kind of licensed to come into Huddersfield and, bang the ICI right by that major junction, which is, prehistoric significance to the whole island and tribe, really. That reminds me of school when we used to have the pipes and Bunsen burners. Ladies' Day in Science Lab at Huddersfield ICI in around 1965. Main office block at Huddersfield. Yeah, well, it's still like that now. I think that's still there, isn't it? I think that Eddie G. Hudson had liked some of these photos from the group. Princess Margaret visiting ICI in around 1975. The Huddersfield site as the host of the Great Yorkshire Show, 1904. Oh, 1904. So is that... Oh, we've got a photo from before when it was there. So this photo is from... That photo is from before the ICI then, is it? I think it might be. So they had a Great Yorkshire Show there, Huddersfield Show. Kind of probably because we got to have the Yorkshire Show there, because don't they have it in Harrogate now? Probably because we got the Tower Bang there, so it was all attention on Huddersfield, wasn't it? And look at the fog there. It's a shame it's foggy, because you would have been able to see that mound probably from this photograph, depending on which direction it is. I wonder if that's Dalton Bank up there, because there's some, you can kind of see a line there. Oh, that's one of the photos that I think I'll save that. I'll save it in a minute anyway. I've been talking for half an hour, and it's just me chatting my own opinion. Try to do a really important, serious petition, and like Russell Brand, I can get controversial. But then again, luckily Russell's doing it, so it takes a little bit of heat off, because if Russell can say controversial stuff, then we can all say controversial stuff. Particularly when he's asking everyone to rise up against the government and corrupt authorities and powers that be. So, he would get straight to the point, didn't he, So, luckily, it's acceptable to do that now and talk like this, even holding a wobbly camera. Although Brand actually does a bit of wobbly camera work on some of his videos as well. British Dyes Limited entrance on Tunbridge Avenue in around 1918 as part of the feature on ICI in Huddersfield. It's all military, isn't it? Something's kicking off between these two wars, and then you've got the IRA kicking off, and then Varley starts excavating, and then another war kicks off, and then after that's tapered off, and then they finish off getting those houses on that mound. It seemed to me, I think that, this is my own opinion, which I'm entitled to. I think the mission, clearly, from that baton being put at Heights of Abraham, right? I think there was a mission, a directive of to take Huddersfield, but obviously if you got Britain anyway, but just symbolically to there was, I think Huddersfield was significant, and they wanted to assert the presence. British Dyes are interested in Tunbridge Avenue in Europe, which the police do anyway. That's what the police are like generally, they've got to have the... It's following on with the whole speed, the speed cameras, it's the Crown speed cameras, and then, they've got the different heads on the top of it, and then they're all on the streets. It's this military unrolling, and then, everywhere's got this metal camera, it's the building of Alcatraz, and now we've got the fences around the schools. It's almost like the whole police chief rap, the whole uniform rap is... What is that rap? That whole thing, as McKenna used to say. What is that whole bit? Is it's more conquering security. It's more authoritarianism, and now it's going on to social media. Unfortunately, Zuckerberg he pretends he's got this facade of, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, peace and love. Look at me in a nightclub taking ecstasy tablets. I'm all free love. And I want to bring these wacky, crazy goggles in, and it's all digital tech avatars, and, don't talk to me about politics or anything like that, even though Nick Clegg's working there, he's ex-Deputy Prime Minister of England, so Nick Clegg, we're not overtaking over social media, divide and conquer, block. Yeah, if you don't like someone, just block them. I'm Mark Zuckerberg, we've got admins now, social admins, social moderators, and even though you've got rights, you haven't really got any rights, because if you do something on this group, yes, those are the rights in your country and written out in your law, but, sod that, because we're on Facebook now, and if you want to phone the police, ring them, but they'll all just laugh at you, and, you can't even get, if you want to complain, you can try, but, I ain't going to talk to you, because I've got robots working for me, ha ha ha, but it's not what you're saying, Mark, it's not what you're saying, what you're doing. I haven't done no wrong on the group, Mark, but you haven't been blocked off. I hadn't even insulted anybody on Messenger in the blocking me. I had a normal conversation with someone on Messenger the other day. I just got blocked. You're inciting, you're encouraging and facilitating social obstructions, and it's not forgiveness. And I know Anonymous are going, we don't not forgive, we do not forget. That's what Zuckerberg's doing. Zuckerberg is with that whole Scientology rap, and I think maybe Pope Francis and the Archbishop are going that way. Maybe the Archbishop of Canterbury really is a member of Anonymous, maybe he is. But I think Pope Francis needs to do something about it, because it's not good. And the whole thing that Neil Oliver's talking about, the Scottish doing all that befriending thing, get separating people's kids from the parents and getting them to tell them all the secrets and all this. It's they're wanting to... The school, the state now wants to be the parents and the academy, not the parents. They're better parents, and you'll do as you're told, and they'll tell you what the rules are and your rights, and you can't say, oh no, that's not right, you've just lied to me and you're doing it wrong. You can't challenge the government's authority. You can't say, look, this is a driving licence from 1993, right, a legitimate one, and on here it says that a 3.5 tonne vehicle is not a heavy vehicle, and under that, legislation of that driving licence, it's classed as a normal car, right? But yet now the DVLA are saying that it doesn't and never did, but it does because it's printed on there, right? And then, the DVLA chief executive, she she doesn't say that I'm wrong. She won't even say that I'm wrong because she knows that I'm right. She knows that I'm right. She knows she's wrong, and then she knows that the men and other people in the department, pressing the red button. We're not going to let you do that because we've changed. We're singing a different tune now, and we've made up a load of rubbish and conjure out of the previous truth, and we're just going to go along with this new thing now and pretend that it was never there. And that's the way they do it. And that's really what Facebook are doing now with the passport, and they want you to have a passport or a driving license, so you can't even put ads for petitions. You can't even advertise a petition on Facebook unless you've got a passport or a driving license. Well, what if I don't drive and use public transport? And what if I don't go on holiday? I go on holiday in this country, then I don't have the right to vote or do petitions. Rubbish. Nick Clegg and Mark Zuckerberg are forcing in the laws that the Tories haven't even put through yet to make sure everyone gets used to it and make them do it. And that is manipulation. And there is something in the government where it says, we'll gradually bring laws in or whatever. But what about when you're opposing it, And you can't withhold someone's rights from them when you haven't changed the law yet. The way they're going about it is that you haven't got a say in it, and then they'll force it to you, make you think that that's normal around the whole world because Facebook pretend that it's normal when they're not even a government and haven't got laws. In a policy, you can't have a policy that goes against laws. These are the laws, right? And these are his rights. You can't say, right, stand up to this policy where you don't have any rights, because then you are abridging the right. It's criminal. It's a con, and it's actually illegal. You can't deceive people out of the rights. You can't have a policy that makes you sign to say you've got no rights. That's criminal. And this is where Zuckerberg needs to get in front of the White House in a video interview and really be pooping his pants, more than what, I am feeling a bit ridiculous and awkward doing this conversation now. But Zuckerberg, everyone in the world knows who he is. He's got a massive mansion in Hawaii, and, he's very in serious, important meetings with lots of smiles and nods and billions of people saying that he's, God's gift to the world. Mark Zuckerberg, how successful you are, when he's blatantly withholding rights on Facebook from people when it is the law that he's got to uphold those rights. It is a regimented military action that is the branch of, now we've had mill owners and mill management. When you're at work, you have bosses. Now when you're in social, you have bosses, and then they're encouraging other members of the public to boss you. You can be a boss, and we'll give you the boss powers, and you can enjoy the boss powers, and then you can be bosses like us, and we'll be bossing people around, and all those rights, But yet, Priti Patel and Boris Johnson are really, more discrimination laws coming in now. Now you can't say this, now you can't say that. Sexist, racism, ageist, more and more discriminative items pop up. More and more things that you can discriminate against that will make it in law that you can and can't say, right? Yet, right, on Facebook and YouTube, there are more and more, they're actually, all the rights that we have got, they're ignoring them, because now you're actually getting booted out of groups for nothing, or blocked for nothing. You haven't done anything wrong. So the rights that they've got, like you've got the right to free speech, the right to political opinion, the right to not have anything done to you when you haven't done anything wrong or broke a rule. Now they're just doing that, but yet you're meant to have rights. Well, what are these rights? What they're doing is they're bringing more and more discrimination laws in now to stop us from doing stuff. And what they're doing is they're bringing more and more administrators in to force us to follow those rules and facilitating the admins and moderators from not being subjective to the rules and not being anywhere you can complain against them. In fact, they are helping and assisting the admins and moderators to break the rules and to abuse us and actually to cause criminal offences against us by those laws. It's almost like they're training up an army. Because when you go into a foreign country, you are breaking the laws of that country. When you invade France or Germany or any other country, it doesn't matter what the laws are in that country, because you're breaking them, you're invading them. You're going in there with an armed force and forcing. That's what they're doing now. They're forcing us with admins and moderators, and unfortunately it's Nick Clegg who's meant to be a liberal, right? Mark Zuckerberg. They're actually forcing forced action against us, right? Which is breaking the law. They're breaking the law by forcing us to do something when they're not wrong, right? And then, but they're claiming that they're giving more and more, rights and meant to protect us. What they're doing is they're actually abusing us more and more. It's actually like it is a hostile takeover, and we are being hijacked. And they actually said that on the Doctor Who programme. It's written into the series 13 of Doctor Who, and Jodie Whittaker's from Huddersfield. That's what's happening. We're being hijacked, and we're being taken over. And then all the business people who've got loads of money, they've now got that much money that they can use advertising influence on social media. You know, they can send multiple messages to people on social media and join multiple groups and actually they've got the money to dominate and rule social media. So they're dominating and ruling you when they're at work, and then they're dominating and ruling you when they're at home. Then you've got to pay the money up to for your time when you're in the house, and then you've got you're getting promoted their products even when you're at home. Never mind making them all day. It literally they want to own you, and I don't know why Jeff Bezos wants to do that. They've got issues. There are psychological problems and issues with some of these people, and unfortunately, they get into it by the position that they're in. And this is what's going on with all this. When you become monarchs and MPs and prime ministers, you end up getting carried away with it, and then you have to have people like me and Russell Brand who are try to sort it out. That's the problem. And unfortunately, they're expert in getting everyone to cheer along, get a football team, be on the team, be a player, and then no one will help you because they don't want to help you because they're actually on the other side. It's all that they're playing for the other team. That's the problem, and nobody will help you. And Labour used to stick together. It was Labour who was the opposition when they had the liberal clubs and the old clubs and the bowling clubs and the working men's clubs and all that, and the Labour people got together in meetings and groups actually like this. And now they're less doing that, and what they're doing is all the working class people and the people who would have been members of Labour clubs and things like that, they're actually getting into their heads through mobile phone device, through their kids, through groups, and they're actually dividing people not to come together in drill halls or in cricket clubs and chant and oppose. They're actually getting everyone to play for the football team, play for the cricket team, behave, and then they're getting all their kids to play Candy Crush and do that and get chatting on social media and follow the celebrities on TV. And actually, that's why Labour has failed. What the Labour Party was is no more, because the Labour Party doesn't have that core togetherness, because they've all been subdued by the dark side of the force, and they're all addicts now of the Tories products that they got them to build from around this time when all this ICI was being built. All these products since this is before, and now this is when everyone could come together in different parties and have meetings and do certain things. Mining strikes and that, when they weren't being manipulated by higher forces, to do it just for political, to scare people and cause a fuss. And then you've got now it's social media. The social media rules the kids, and getting distracted from these matters. And what Labour was will never be again, because they have divided. Well, it's divide and conquer. It's divided, and the bred addicts, and that's why they made all the chemicals from these ICI factory into all those crops, and now Dr. Berg is saying they're all toxic, and all the crops that they've modified are destroying his metabolism and killing us because they wanted to dominate us. And then they even have a prime minister who can get votes in because he's fat and plump and overweight, and everybody has sympathy with him. It's almost like he's a model of not what to be, but they say, "Oh, this is great," and everyone gets votes for him. He's a vote winner, but it's comedy. He's a joke, really. That's why he's flying around dangling from an helicopter with spitting image boxer shorts and holding a frozen kipper up because he's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, but it works for the Tories. People vote for him because they're fools. That's the problem. I don't even want to get into a massive political talk, but I'll have to, because we're talking about how we get taken over by military regimes and then put to work, and then they get us making things chemically that are actually killing us, and then taking over all the places. This is what happens. Computerization at ICI in the 1970s. Even got a computer room. Looks like one of those power stations, doesn't it? It's got all the diagrams everywhere. Well, that symbolises all the connections they knew between all the sites. I know it doesn't, but that's what they've got in London. They had that, the connection between all the ancient sites, all the power sources, all the Druid bases, all that, and they exactly knew where they wanted to go and build stuff and get us to forget about. Unveiling the War Memorial at Huddersfield in 1949. Imperial Chemical Industries, Huddersfield Works. Well, I've never even been up that close to it to know it was Imperial Chemical Industries. I wish I'd have known it was called Imperial Chemical Industries, and that would have explained everything. Removing cake from filter press, 1943. I wonder how many photos are on here. Loading pictures. See, look at that. Underneath there is some proper archaeology, And then I think the only archaeology that was done in this area probably was Mum Valley, because nobody was interested in it. They were all too interested in Stonehenge and Avebury. Not our two massive long barrows we've got, and then the hill fort. And I actually do believe that they are two big long barrows, and that would make the whole difference. That would make all the difference, living on two big long barrows. Aerial photo of the ICI site in Huddersfield around 1940. Right, so that's when it was. Wow, look at that. That's just starting to go uphill there. I'm not too sure which side it is. See, they went straight. They didn't stop. This is right on the junction where that ancient river would have the bit would have come down from Waterloo and then joined onto the main river part and then gone round to Mayfield and then onto Hull. Right on the junction, all concreted. The children of ICI employees were treated to a performance of the pantomime Red Riding Hood at the Palace Theatre and met the show's principal in this day in 1953. Wooden chairs. It's like an AC/DC hat. Nurses Linda Sturch left and Beverly Lee lead the way for a bed push at Huddersfield ICI in aid of the body scanner appeal for Huddersfield Royal Infirmary in 1987. Members of the ICI medical department and emergency crew hoped to raise about £1,000 for its life-saving fund. The party went from the company Leeds Road to the site to the town centre to collect near Huddersfield bus station. Then they trundled back to the ICI club. More than £500 was collected, and organisers hoped to double that figure through sponsorship of those who took part. Beverly's 4-year-old daughter Emma joined the front, but managed to escape the hard work. She was the passenger in the bed. Well, what about the hospital petition? That hospital petition actually got enough to have a referendum, but we never got given one. We never got the local vote on it. Save HRH, save RH, save HRH, save HRH. They were more concerned about getting everyone chanting save HRH, like banging pans outside the doors on a Thursday night, rather than actually saving the hospital itself. We could have got a vote on it. And then when you go on Google, what was the electorate size of Huddersfield, it said it was bigger than what it was, so people thought they needed more signatures than what they needed. There's one of the machines there. Manufacturing at ICI in Huddersfield in the 1970s. Whoa. Chemical manufacture ICI in the 1920s. Well, that's just a drawing. And it's quite an interesting drawing. All sorts going on in there, weren't they? All different kind of things. Chemical production at ICI in around 1991. That's it. So yeah, I think you need to recognise that we've got ancient sites here, and from carrying on from my other video that I did about John William Ramsden, and then there's the Irish thing around that. It was around exactly the time the IRA were kicking off when the ICI were being built, and there's wars going on, and then the valley starts excavating there. There's another war, and we're slowly being built up. Yet Maiden Castle and Oswestry managed to keep away from it and didn't need to. Why did we need to? You've got King George sniffing around here, and then the Mountbattens, and then that's what's happening. John Luke, they recruit John Luke Picard, and then there's Prince Andrew. It's all royal. It's all royal dominating, divide and conquer and take over. That's the problem. We're getting a lot of people a lot of MP, the MP or councillor for Hull, whichever it was, is defected to the Liberal Dems now. The Liberal Dems at North Shropshire Oswestry have just taken that area by Old Oswestry Fort anyway for Liberal Dems. So, and Liberal Dems are winning in quite a few areas. That's what John William Ramsden were a Liberal. Our area stands for Liberal, really, because it's not even that long ago when before that factory was made. And it was a Liberal area before that. All those factories made it Labour because they made factories and created work and necessity for Labour, for people, put people into Labour. Before that, Ramsden's Liberal, and we've got beautiful meadows and some amazing ancient old sites, and the area is Liberty Cap area. It's more magical and mystical, really, than Stonehenge and Maiden Castle and Oswestry, really, anyway. You've got West Kennet and some of the long barrows, but that's what I think they are, big long barrows, but you only think it's magical or mystical if you've got chambers inside them. But it's only a little chamber, only if it's 5 people in. We're talking about a massive long barrow live on top of it, and it had the whole kind of Abbey Village in a long barrow, and then you're getting the ley lines then, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? So, I think that pretty much said what I want on this subject now, but it's controversial, but I can't help it. That's what facts are presented to me, and by deduction and logic, that's what that's how I see it, because that's what's happening. Are they coming in here and trying to get accolades and praise, but yet what are they actually doing? They're building up and building over and trying to get us to forget many of the sites and the wider significance of it. But yet they're building all these monuments in a way trying to give praise. Our Kingsgate Centre, where it's just a massive revenue spin. Then I've got the university. Oh, John Luke Picard, big enterprise university. But what's if you've just written off as Ilford and just totally blitz the area, it's all right. Cheers, slap us around the face and then build a university. To me, it's silly. They're not doing that in Dorchester or Oswestry. They really have a lot of pride and respect for the sites. But here, I don't know what it is with Kirklees Council. They're suckers for. They want the coin. Come on. We're going to hand some coin. Show me the money. Oh God, arise, Sir Barry Shearman. Sir Patrick Stewart. Arise. Now you've gone up in the world, but we fleeced your sights off you. It's like Yorkshire puddings. Really, they need people need waking up to know what's going on.